Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, it's Bob from Chillicothe. Well, the Eagles have shown you don't have to have a top-tier quarterback. They've been there in the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 3 years. Come on, just take Abdul with the second pick. If you really, really like the dark kid, maybe try to trade up. It's all going to have to be about Barry and Stefanski, really. We got to hit on these draft picks, and we got to coach them up. Let's build this team. Let's coach them up. Let's get there. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Scott, I get where he's going. When I watched the Eagles defense last night, my thing was, give me Abdul Carter on the other side, keep Miles there. There's nothing that they did that the Browns defense hasn't shown they can do. Can you do it consistently? But the one thing that their offense did do is they didn't turn the ball over, and they made plays and got first downs. That's something the Browns offense has been unable to do. That's the difference. The defense, I don't think, is the problem. I think it's the offense is a crater.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest problem. Now, the defense has a way to go to catch up to Philadelphia, I would argue. In 2023, the gap was much smaller. The Browns were number one in the league in some categories. There's certainly pieces there. If JOK comes back and is healthy and can play, if you had Myles Garrett, if you had Abdul Carter, I think you need to add a D tackle, at least one. And then you have Denzel Ward. You hope Martin Emerson Jr. is better, right? You can. Then it's just the pieces you're filling in. I think you need a free safety. But that Eagles defense is driven by that front four, and that's the Browns' plan, especially since they got Jim Schwartz. Was okay, it's a lot about the front four. And they drafted Siaki Ika, and that didn't work. They drafted Mike Hall Jr., and he was only able to be on the field for a little bit, so we don't know exactly how good he can be. There's depth with Isaiah McGuire, and you think Alex Wright on the edge. I think they need to get deeper at D tackle. You have Dalvin Tomlinson, who's a really good player. So, yeah, I understand that blueprint, and I do think the defense is much closer to matching the Eagles than the offense is. And I understand the caller's point. It is you can survive with an elite defense and a good quarterback. And I would argue Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Is he top 10? Is he top 12? Top 15? I mean, he's somewhere in there, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls. So I do not want to dismiss him. He made a bunch of key throws last night, especially on third downs. He did so in the NFC Championship game as well. But I think the caller's right where you don't necessarily need a top 5 quarterback, but either have a top 5 quarterback or you better have an unbelievable, well-rounded roster. And that's what the Eagles have with a good or really good quarterback. So we can argue what's easier. Is it easier to find that top 5 quarterback, or is it easier to build a 50-man roster with a really good quarterback? And I think they're both really hard to do, but I think the Eagles did show that that's a pathway to a championship.
Yeah, the other thought I had is, please don't let the Browns think they can get Jalen Milroe and turn him into to Hurts. That was the other. Those were my 2 takeaways.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Dave. I mean, I don't know what the Browns are going to do, but I think that's got to be in their thoughts. Can Milroe be Jalen Hurts? Can Milroe be Lamar Jackson? And it's going to take development. It's going to take great coaching. It's going to take flexibility from an offensive coaching standpoint and scheme standpoint. But, Lamar Jackson was not Lamar Jackson when he came into the league. Yep. And he developed, and the Ravens changed things, and he's become, 2-time MVP, should have been 3-time MVP. So I wouldn't just close the door to that because, I think there's some validity to a guy like that with a huge upside in certain areas.
Yeah, but you're right. You're going to have to. It's a lot of work and a lot of patience before you're going to see the payoff to that.